Valley Town Sports family, good evening and welcome to the show. Conference championship week. It's going to be a good one. But first and foremost, it's been a while since the three of us have graced the stage together. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Doing all right, man. Just free. We were talking about it before. Just freezing. Just doing everything you can to stay warm. It's cold everywhere.
Yeah. So I at work, I've been wearing 2 pairs of long johns. I've got my Carhartt like bibs, like overalls that I wear, like 2 thermals, a long sleeve, a fleece. Like, it's still not enough to be quite honest. It does a nice job for the most part, but at the end of the day, it still fucking sucks.
So are we all three in consensus it's better to be hot than cold?
Yes. 1000%. I would rather sweat my dick off.
No,
freeze.
No, I'd rather be cold.
Nope.
What?
I don't.
Yeah,
all right. I need some logic behind this argument.
I mean, honestly, Bobby, what you just said though is putting on all of those layers. You have the ability to do it. I can't remove skin.
I'd rather sweat it.
You know,
out
like there's a point where you get so hot, and that's so much more like it's so much more of like a claustrophobic feeling because there's literally at a certain point nothing more you can do.
I know. I like sweating.
You're just hot. Cold, I can at least. All right. Like last night, did I have 3 blankets? Hell yeah, I did. Do I typically sleep with 3? No, not at all. But it's a lot easier to adjust for.
Right. I don't know, man. There's just something about like.
In my opinion, it's easier to cool down than it is to warm up. Like being cold hurts.
Yeah, I've been in. When you get in a position where your feet start being cold and there's no coming back, that makes me feel worse than like sweating my dick off. Well, like when your feet get cold and there's no coming back from it, and you know you are X amount of hours away from getting back inside, like that's the worst feeling.
Yeah,
I work around water.
Cold is cold. Okay, well here's the big like. There's nothing worse than like wet socks.
Yeah,
or
especially when you're cold.
You need with the cold, you need to adapt and make sure you're wearing the proper clothing. The fact that it snows and it's wet sucks for sure. But at a certain point, like 0 degrees, -20, whatever.
I also don't have to shovel snow in the summer.
Yeah, you got to mow the lawn, which is a preferred task.
Yeah, yes. I was going to say I would 10 out of 10 rather mow the lawn.
The smell of fresh cut grass is 10 times better than shoveling snow.
Truthfully, is there anything better than when you know you're about to go outside and start doing yard work and it's like 10:30 and you're like, yeah, I'll crack a beer.
Yeah. And then I'm sorry, all I'm gonna do is sweat for the next 4 hours.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna feel the first 6. Like,
right.
What are we doing
first 6.
Right. Next thing you know, it's like 5:30 in the afternoon and you go back to the fridge and those 12 beers are gone and you're like, whoa, what happened? And then you just hit the liquor cabinet after that.
This is my sad doing dry January. This episode is sponsored by Sam Adams, Just the Haze non-alcoholic IPA.
Oh,
I'll tell you,
honestly, they've made
some non-alcoholic IPAs that are very good.
There are some pretty good ones.
Yeah, that Athletic Brewing Company does a good job.
Yeah,
I think everything that they make is good.
The good thing about these is I'm like, I won't ever have more than like 2. I brought 2 in here. It's just because it's just like I still like the taste. Like at a certain point, you're just like, I just don't want water, you know?
I get it.
It's nice to nice to have something that's kind of like, you get it. Just wet the beak a little.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry.
They still haven't figured spirits out though. Have you ever had like non-alcoholic like tequila or bourbon?
I'm so scared of it.
You might as well just drink piss, dude.
Yeah, that scares me too more than anything.
They've come a long way from O'Doul's to what there is now, though. I will say
there's a ton of options.
They also make malt liquor electrolyte beverages now. So either way you look at it, I mean, I
can get a nice cold 40.
Yeah, so
they said no, you can't make it a Red Bull, but you can do a Gatorade.
Yeah, yeah. The first time I saw that, I was like, that sounds awful. And then my next thought was like, will I be hydrated still? Will I be hungover if I drink 8 of these?
It would be sick though to just have a drink that like business in the front, party in the back. Like,
yeah,
front's like, I got you, dude. We're hydrating all the way. You're like, but we're partying back here.
Right. Yeah. Like you still, I mean, like you're still pissing all the time, but at least you're like, whoa, I feel good.
Yeah, and you're rocking like a solid buzz,
Yeah.
like somewhere between
I'll
like 3-4
probably try.
beer. I would drink.
Let
that.
me,
But it's constant.
I'll just go get them and then I'll just try them on here and we could just walk through it together.
If there was a drink that could constantly keep me at that 3 to 4 beer buzz, I would be so good at pool because I fall off quick. Not 3 or 4, terrible. 5, worthless.
Yeah.
1 and 2, I don't even know how to play.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I'm
true.
like, nah, I'm good. Terrible.
There is something about 4 beers in playing pool where you're like, damn, should I be playing in a league?
I think I can take these guys. I tell you what, I'm gonna act like I'm bad. I'm gonna shark these guys.
Yeah.
For me,
I
just
start
can't be
Googling Q
hammered.
sticks. Yeah. No, you're like 5 beers in, you're like Q, and then you look at your phone, you're like, ah, shit, I'm bad again.
When
Dude,
I
those
start
people are
seeing 2
insane,
of the
though.
same ball, that's when I know I got to stop.
We were at a
That's fair.
bar and these people came in like for league play. It's like a bar with like 6 tables. We're like, great, we'll go there after work, play some pool, have a couple beers. No, it's like league play, and everyone's like, oh, excuse me, we need to practice. And they're like unscrewing their like briefcase installed Q-tip. Like, I'm like, get the fuck out.
I may or may not have one of those.
I'm pretty sure someone had it like handcuffed to their wrist. Like, no one's getting my Q.
I mean, there's some cues out there that can be expensive, man.
I'm sure.
But,
I'm sure there is. Just like anything that has like, there's a hobby. I get it. But it's like,
Where do you guys land on pickleball? Have you guys dabbled in
never
any
played.
pickleball yet?
I have. I am a fan. So there's a park at the like literally the top of my street. There's like 2 basketball courts, jungle gyms for the kids, and there was 8 tennis courts. And this past year they redid the tennis courts, but they only redid them as 4 tennis courts. That's where like the high school plays. And then they took the rest of what they had there before and turned them into pickleball courts. So it's like right at the top of my street. We have paddles, like would walk up after work in the summer. Dude, it's nice. It's like a nice little workout. It's like ping pong, but you're on top of the table, kind of, is the best way to describe it.
I just thinking about the pool cue thing. Like I just happened to be at Target and I saw the price of some of these high-end pickleball like
Pickleball
sets.
paddles. Say that 5 times.
It's like, yeah, it's $300 for a pair, and I'm like, holy shit. But then I guess it's like anything else, right? Like, you know,
just take me to the Home Depot and give me a fucking piece of plywood and a Sawzall.
For the record, we have like probably like it was like a $40 Amazon, like 2 paddles, 2 balls.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
Very entry level to the, but it's fun. But yeah, no, just like it's like anything else though. When there's a lot of people that do it, it kind of gets ruined because people take it like way too seriously.
Yeah, I asked Mary
competitive very quickly.
Right, so do I. And I asked Mary, like, there's same thing. There's a park 2 miles up the road from our house that they have courts. And I was like, hey, would you ever be interested in playing? And Mary's like, never with you, not once. She's like, it's too much. It's like, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, no. I get that because I've only played with my wife before and I just dominate her and she gets pissed.
Yeah. She's like,
we can go up there and run it. We can go up there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe me and you can just go do it.
I would happily do it.
It'll turn into a fucking Amir Garrett against the Pirates by the end of it. One of us is going to get into a fist fight.
Hopefully there's people to play so we can at least be on the same team.
That's what that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's just like me and you against 8 people and we're just duking it out.
There's just 4 teenagers up there that are just like trying to, that'd be hilarious.
Dude, it's the old men they're good at it too. Like pickleball
makes sense.
Wouldn't be the first time I've knocked an old man on his ass. So
these guys who have been like, I can't do tennis anymore, my knees. What's this?
Yeah, half the movement. Yeah.
But they just got that old man game. They park in the paint. Just park and bark, dude.
Yeah. The Bill Lambier of pickleball, if you will.
Just got to get him off. Just got to get him off kilter.
The bad boys of pickleball.
Yeah. Right. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm just trying to get parallel. I'm getting parallel with sports I know here. That's where I am.
All right, boys. Well, before we dive into the NFL, obviously, we have a new national champion in the college football world.
Yeah.
What were your guys' takeaways from that game?
Not as good of a game as I thought it was going to be. I kind of knew after the initial 18-play drive that Notre Dame had to run, where Riley Leonard ran the ball like 6 or 7 times. It's like, ooh, this is going to be a rough rest of the half for him because he just gave 140% on this drive to score. And then Ohio State turned around and scored in like 5 minutes. I'm like, that's not enough time. And it's like 3 and out. Ohio State gets the ball back, scores. 3 and out. Ohio State gets the ball back, scores. Then it's halftime. You're like, not looking good. But what I will say is it was nice to see this playoff. Like, I had I didn't mind the expansion, but I guess I was just concerned about the level of, what the 12 teams would look like from 8 to the national championship. I felt like this was good. This was a good tournament. And I think that the CFP did the right thing. And if you look at Ohio State, Bobby's dad called me at 11:40 after the game was over. I did not answer because I did not feel like hearing someone just gloat about winning a national championship. That just didn't feel like, I was ready to go to bed. I didn't need to go through that. But I work in a company where it's nothing but Ohio State fans.
Yeah.
And I'm labeled as the guy within my, the division of my company. I'm the only one that's not an Ohio State fan.
Right.
So I still got 15 phone calls on Tuesday because I told everybody Notre Dame was going to win by a field goal.
Oh, okay.
Because that's what I legitimately believe that. I just based on how they had played defensively. And it just, the talent level variance between the two rosters was very obvious from the jump. What Ohio State put out offensively this year as a whole, except for 2 games, they would beat any team in the country, right? They did, and they were able to do it. But I mean, the main thing that came out of that is that Notre Dame's defensive coordinator is now the Bengals defensive coordinator. That's happened. That happened today.
Yep,
that's
did
announced.
see that.
That's official. So was a linebackers coach for Cincinnati before he went to Notre Dame too. So there is some history there. Was there for a year with Zach Taylor. So, they know each other. It was very clear that they interviewed 3 people and nothing had came about. And then all of a sudden you just hear that he's going to Cincinnati, that you knew what was happening. That was what the outcome was going to be of that.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a good game overall. It was basically like it was like everything but the entree, right? Like, loved the pageantry of it. Honestly, it was kind of cool just having 2, those are 2 historic NCAA programs. So like even just the pageantry of like the pregame and stuff, I just thought was kind of cool. And I thought the game started great. Like Notre Dame took so much time off the clock and scored, went down their throat unrelentingly. I mean, to the point where you saw the quarterback throwing up on the sidelines for Notre Dame. And, they threw it out where it was like, okay, I actually can see how Notre Dame can not only stay in this game, but actually win this game, control the clock, don't allow Ohio State to, hold on to the ball, or even if they do quick strike, you have to take 7-8 minute drives and get at least 3 on those possessions. And then it got to the middle of the game, right? So that entree was like, all right, Ohio State was just beat the shit out of them for 2 straight quarters. I think it was like the next 8 drives after Notre Dame scored, they outgamed them by like 250, 270 something yards. Just,
It went up like what 31-7 or something like that.
Yeah. 31-7. They went 31 unanswered. Exactly. Yeah. So, right. Ohio State went to just kicking that ass. And then the dessert was pretty good. They kind of like, they came back and made it at least a little bit interesting for, the people that stuck it out and tuned into the game. Like, oh shit, Notre Dame's got a chance in this. The field goal, we can talk about it. Interesting call. I kind of actually, after it's been explained to me, understand a little bit why. But in the moment, of course, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? But either way, like, yeah, I think what we thought was going to happen in that game just happened. You know, it was a game where it was like, give Notre Dame a 30% chance. We just saw 70 Ohio State. But I still think it was worth for people that stuck it out and tuned in and watched. It was a fun, entertaining game. And I was rooting for Ohio State. But as you guys I've said 1,000 times on here, like, don't care when they lose. So as you can imagine, like the day after, I was like, on to the next thing. I was like, oh, cool, they won, great. The person at the grocery store is going to be nice to me.
Yeah,
You know, like that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw similarities between the game with Texas and the game with Notre Dame. Texas came out hot, same thing, marched down the field, and then it was just a fucking ghost town for a couple of quarters. And then they tried to come back a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a pretty good game. Jeremiah Smith is unbelievable.
Yeah,
Um,
the number one pick. If he,
I
could
think
afford
that's
it.
pretty clear. If he
he's
could
the
come out
best
this,
athlete playing football.
if he could have come
That's what
out
it
this
is.
year, he would have. That just is what it is. Unfortunately, he has to play another year. Yeah,
He has
next
to play
year
2 more years.
he has to play
Yeah.
2 more years. He's a freshman.
Yeah, he's a true freshman.
Yeah, he's a true freshman. Exactly.
Yikes! Yeah, they got to change. They got to
He turned
change that rule.
18 in August or July. Like he's
yeah.
even like a young freshman. That's
the other thing. It's not what he's doing. It's the fact. Sorry, Tad, not to cut you off, but like it's how early he's already a starter.
Yeah. He's the best athlete playing football right now.
He might
Just
set
in
some
general.
records. He might set some records. Like
It
2
would
more
be
years of what
interesting
this is, if he can stay healthy,
Yeah.
would be unreal.
Well, and to like, you know, we don't know what Ohio State's going to do in the transfer portal yet, obviously, but you know, the rumor is that this Julian Sayin, the guy they redshirted this year, is the best quarterback in the room, or was the best quarterback in the room this year too, right? And he's barely played any snaps. So if this guy is true to word, right, and then you couple him with a talent like Jeremiah Smith, and then, oh, by the way, Carnell Tate was the number 1 wide receiver in his class too. Like this football team will not slow. It won't slow down. And there's next man up across the board for every position. Their offensive line is actually, they're losing 2 guys that are first round picks, and it's getting better next year. I don't know how that's possible, but it's going to be an improved offensive line based on a couple of guys that they grabbed in the transfer portal and guys that got snaps this year just because of injury. Like they're getting better. So
yeah,
it's nuts.
Yeah, good. Well, I mean, I thought the first time they changed from the old like BCS to like the championship series like this was 2014, and then 10 years later they changed it again, and Ohio State wins again.
Yep,
I thought that was just uncanny.
Yeah, and actually, to Todd's point when he was talking about it, like in terms of the overall format, like I loved it, and I know I
thought there was a lot of good football. I'm not usually a big college guy, but like all the college games were really fun to watch for the most part.
We've been asking for them to expand it, and yeah, was every single game amazing? No, but I can't wait for that one year when you see like we saw Boise State beat Oklahoma in the like a Fiesta Bowl or something like that. Like it's gonna happen. Give enough, at bats, and you're gonna see some real hits here. And I actually thought for a first year, I thought it went great.
Yeah, absolutely. For
more variance. That's good for the game.
You say we definitely saw some upsets in the NFL last week too, boys.
Boy, we sure did. I just feel bad for Detroit, man.
Yeah,
they just couldn't stay healthy, man.
Everyone was rooting for them.
Yeah, and the window's closed.
I don't agree with that. Yet.
They lost their offensive and defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
in the last 40
Their
hours.
entire coaching staff's gone.
I know. I'm not ready to.
It's a big blow.
Okay.
They lost 3 of their coaches.
Yeah. Yep. The defensive line coach is now the DC at New England, right? Isn't that where he went? Yeah.
I mean, they still won 15 games with like their entire roster getting murdered.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Like, I'm still waiting.
I mean, they could have won that game too had Goff not thrown 4 picks.
Yeah, I hear you, but I would have said like funny parallel, but like give the Rams, for instance, I would have told you they were done 2 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
I still don't think they're completely out of it. It's a tough division that they're in, but I'll be curious to see what they do for next year and see what kind of coaching they bring in anyway.
Yeah.
Because I still like Dan Campbell, but you live by the sword, you die by the sword, and you have
I could see Antoine
Swords,
Randall L
ball.
becoming the next OC.
there you go.
That's something I could see happening. Yeah.
He's their wide receivers coach, right?
I believe
Yes.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old Steeler. One of my favorites.
I was thinking more of him as like a dual threat University of Indiana quarterback than what he did in the NFL, but whatever. Yeah, I guess he played in the league.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, he didn't have one of the most pivotal touchdowns in Super Bowl history. No, he didn't.
For the record, Randall L would have thrown that one away that Jameson Williams just chucked down.
Yes. And and you see him screaming that at him on the sidelines too. Like,
Remember,
Yeah,
you don't have to throw it. What's that?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
Huck it, chuck it, football.
Yeah.
I mean, on the flip side of that coin in that game, Jaden Daniels. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's the tough part, man. It's the one team, right? Or like I obviously was rooting for Detroit, but if they're gonna I like Washington, man. I like Washington a lot.
Yeah, Washington took
Yeah.
out Detroit and TikTok in the same day. It was wild.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's
Only one of those is back though.
It's the Commanders are nuts, man. They're doing it with not really any defense either. Like a very middle of the road defense. And Jaden Daniels is just leading drives, making adjustments, keeping his composure. It's very impressive.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
They're
I know
doing
you
it-
and I were talking about it earlier in the week, Todd, but this VR training that Jaden Daniels is doing is going to have to
Yeah.
translate across the NFL at some point, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he was doing it at so I looked into it more after we talked. He was doing it at LSU. It was developed by some company, some technologists, let's call them, in Germany, that developed this program. And Jaden Daniels, they reached out to all these quarterbacks in college, and nobody really bit. And Jaden Daniels was like, "Yeah, I'll give it a shot." Gets a free VR headset out of it. Yeah, let's do it.
Those
Worst
aren't
case
cheap.
scenario. Yeah, worst case scenario, he's got porn in his eyes all the time. He's fine, right? So
That would be
playing
wild.
the game. Yeah, playing the game at almost 2 times the speed on there, and having to make adjustments. And there's haptics to being hit, or haptics for prep. Like there's all sorts of variances in it, and they're younger quarterbacks, and even some veteran quarterbacks at least have to take note of, like, all right, well, clearly when he's in game, he's so well composed, and even under pressure, he's so good at feeling it and escaping it and making adjustments that there is obviously talent that correlates to that, but it'll catch on. I'm interested to hear more about it as it gets the attention that it deserves.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting, and it's not. I mean, it's certainly not the first instance of pro football utilizing VR or even like technology adjacent to, but I think we're now at a crossroads of where technology is, even like the buzzword, of course, like AI. Not to just throw it out there just to throw it out there, but like you actually are in a very interesting situation where Jaden Daniels was injured throughout the season or in the middle of the season. Still able to get those mental reps. Think of a guy like JJ McCarthy, like sitting on the sideline all season, but while you're getting your rehab in physically, you're still able to take those mental reps in virtual reality, or have certain aspects where maybe you're not losing out an entire season for physical reasons, and having the mental part of the game atrophy as well. So I just think it's a really interesting development, and I think when you see the success that someone like Jaden Daniels has so publicly with that technology, it's going to basically be like, well, we got to try it for X, Y, or Z. So kind of a perfect storm for it. I think you're going to see and hear a lot more about it. But I mean, he's been phenomenal, and it's crazy too that like you're saying, the defense isn't great. They're doing it with like Eckler, Ertz, Bobby Wagner, like all these guys who it's like, what? They're still doing it? Who are these guys are still like, that's just kind of cool. Like it's the young rookie plus You get like McLaurin, who's always been a solid receiver in this league, finally with a good quarterback, and you see like what he can do on as a difference maker. It's been great watching him. And again, if there was any other team I wanted to see besides Detroit, it was Washington because of what we're seeing with Jaden Daniels. I wish it wasn't last round and perhaps they were meeting.
Who wouldn't want to see Brian Robinson Jr. just come out during the Super Bowl?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like that'd be sick. They definitely have a formidable matchup this coming week, but let's dive into the game nobody wants to talk about. Chiefs Texans.
Yes. Give me 1 second, guys. I apologize. I will literally be back in 2 seconds.
I thought we were all just going silent. Like we're not going to fucking talk about it. Okay, cool. Moving on.
Yeah,
God, that game was fucking gross, dude.
It's frustrating, man. It's frustrating.
Like you've got a blatant hip drop tackle. You've got Patrick Mahomes flopping everywhere, getting hit, and then not getting hit, and then getting roughing the passer calls or personal fouls. Like,
yeah, it's just
it's gross, man.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's seen the graphic at this point, but they put a chart out of teams that have played at least 5 playoff games, and the plus minus penalty ratio. It's 10 times of 10 games for Kansas City of having less total penalties.
Well, it's not only that; it's
their opponent.
The Texans outgained them by 100 yards.
Sure, right.
They did not turn the ball over. And the other teams in the history with those stats are 49-0, 49-0 with that same stat line.
Sorry, I was saying no. Every team last week that had the most yards lost.
Yeah,
that's like I don't know if it's never happened, but goddamn, I've never heard about it.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
Yep, every single team that outgained their opponent lost last week.
That's got to be a fucking record of some sort. That's just unbelievable. I mean, obviously the best game in my opinion last week was Ravens Bills. That game was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews dropping that 2-point conversion was brutal. Could have sent it to overtime. The Rams held their own a lot better than I thought they would against Philly, though.
That might have been my favorite because
I think I preferred the Rams Phillies game, or
same
Phillies.
Difference. Yeah, we know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Eagles. Sorry,
there's something about just the second half snowball, which was great, and then like I can't believe it after Saquon Barkley takes that 73-yard touchdown. And I'm like, great, this one's over. And I'm kind of like still have it on and out of the corner of my eye. And I look down and I'm like, how does Matthew Stafford have the ball going like with a chance to win at the end of this game? Like it was wild.
Yep.
Snow makes it crazy.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley has been unbelievable. If there's anybody that I want to win a championship more this year, it is Saquon. Just so he can raise the trophy, say fuck you, New York, and then walk off stage.
It's actually an interesting question because there's 4 teams remaining. Like, who are you rooting for?
Oh man, anybody but the Chiefs, dude.
Is it really just that simple?
Chiefs win.
Like, is that just straight up, just not the Chiefs?
There's great stories for everybody. It's like Josh Allen, like probably getting the MVP, wins his first Super Bowl.
So. I think it's going to be Lamar.
Not after last week.
I mean, the votes have already been in before the playoffs start.
Yeah, I still think Josh Allen's going to get this one. He hasn't thrown like a pick in God knows how long. So he played a very flawless back half of the season. Like it was unbelievably flawless for his standard. Like he's a guy that we've shit on for turning the ball over, and he just didn't do it.
I mean, neither did Lamar.
Yeah,
he had 4 picks?
Yeah.
Still more than
the betting markets are certainly telling you it's going to be Lamar, but
no, we'll see.
I think it should be Josh as well. I'm just,
but
I wouldn't
so quick
to say he's got it.
you'd love to see Saquon get his first, and then obviously you'd love to see a rookie quarterback get his first. So there's good storylines for the other three teams, and just not anything good for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it'd be the first time a rookie even starts in the Super Bowl if they win. So that would be cool.
Rookie quarterback,
If-
rookie
if-
owner.
If the
Yeah,
Chiefs,
yeah.
if the
Rookie
Chiefs
head,
win,
yeah, new head
it's
coach.
gonna be the season that people are gonna be like, they gave it to the Chiefs. The entire season was gifted to the Chiefs.
Yeah, I don't personally feel that way, but
I don't understand how anybody could feel differently after like the whole body of work this season and how many games, like how the stats just don't make sense for the Chiefs to be where the Chiefs are. There's too many coincidental stats that lead to them getting a lot of help. Like that one stat where it had to do with the point differential, and 5 teams in the league that were like 2-12 or 2-13 at that point all had a better point differential, but had a 2-13 record, and the Chiefs were like 12-1 or 12-2 at that point, and they had a worse point differential. Like that combined with every other stat that's been thrown our way this season about the Chiefs and the way that they've won game, I don't know. It seems like they've had a lot of help this season from the Zebras, in my opinion. I'm not saying that ever decides games, because there were a lot of games that could have been won had things been executed differently. Like even week 1 when they played the Ravens, and it likely was out by the smallest margin I've ever seen in my life. So
yeah, I think there have been more eyes on the Chiefs this season than any other team in the history of the NFL. They start week 1. They're on Thanksgiving. They're on at Christmas. They're on these weird days. They're on Wednesday. They're on Thursday. They're on Monday night. They're on Sunday night. And they should be, absolutely. But same thing we were always talking about, where it's like, okay, I promise you these same bad calls happen at Sunday at 1 o'clock. There's just 7 to 8 other games going on. I think the overall problem, and I don't necessarily disagree with you, is that there are problems with how the NFL is being refereed. I think it's a very difficult sport to referee as well. But I also think there's this weird, like, nostalgic pride or something that comes along with being a referee. Like, we see the camera angles, we see it in real time. Like, we are at the point now where you need like a sky judge or a overall like a not field umpire who can call down to the crew and say, actually, it's this, we have it verified. Like how the NBA kind of does it with they have like a monitoring system. Now you can clean that up. How the NBA does it is it slows the game down. It's annoying. It's obnoxious. But I personally just don't think it's a Chiefs thing, because at that point you have 31 other owners in on it. Like sometimes the simplest like explanation is just the easiest, you know?
So then what do you make of the hip drop tackle that happened?
I think the referees are human and miss calls a lot.
But I mean, they were the only 2 out in that open field, and they have to be watching that play. They have to follow the ball. How do they miss that? I'm just asking. Like, I'm just trying to figure out.
I don't know. That's why I'm saying, like, you need to have either an accountability system where it's like, I don't know. I'm not saying like, if you can find players for everything, like bad hits or anything like that. I don't
sure.
There are positions.
But at the end of the day, that fine shouldn't go to the player. It should go to the ref because they missed it.
That's where I'm at too, right? Like, the Thursday night game whatever the game was where the Vikings played the Rams.
And Sam Darnold was really ripped off.
Correct. And then Byron Young gets fined $15,000. Well, let Byron Young donate it to a charity of his choice, and then fine the officials for missing there has to be a point, and that's where players are at now too, where they're appealing it. Like, hey, I understand what you're trying to fine me for, but I wasn't penalized for this in the game. So can you really fine me for this action? Which right. I think there's validity to that, right?
It's like being put in jail for a crime that you weren't like arrested for.
Right. Well, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think the sky judge thing just has to happen. It has to happen sooner than later. If it doesn't happen in the next 2 years, and and it sounds like the NFL is already trying to go in the direction of player safety, where now face masks and there's penalties that can be reviewable, or that are going to become reviewable next year. But there's too much to prove how bad officiating is now to not have systems in place to improve officiating. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so much shit that slowed down that we can see over and over again in 15 different ways that if you have a sky judge, that eliminates probably at least half of the issues, I would think. I don't know. I'm at the point now where I'm fed up with seeing penalties be reviewed and shown over and over again, and the lack of accountability. I need to have somebody from the NFL come out and say, like, yeah, we need to work on this. This is a mistake, right? Like, if you're a bad performer in your job, right, in any other way that it exists, right, in any company, and you blame everybody else for the issues, or you blame, short-sightedness, whatever the circumstances are, you're still accountable for your actions. So why is there no accountability? And I get they're part-time employees, what are we going to do? They're never going to make officials full-time.
Yeah.
The NFL has said $1 billion. It's too expensive. That's what they say. It's too expensive to make officials full-time, even though, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. But neither here nor there.
Where are they going to find that kind of money?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. It's
couch cushions.
Yeah, it's
the fucking cup holder in their car.
Yeah, it's frustrating. That's where I'm at. I'm just frustrated with big games having these things happen and nothing be done about it. But also, I guess you can't just fire every official and start over either, right? Like, they already terminate people, if you will, and bring people in to replace those individuals. There were 3 new crew chiefs this year. Like, obviously there's some changes that are trying to be made, but I think it's just the level of accountability is what frustrates me the most.
I think you are going to start seeing some small changes. I don't think the NFL ever changes anything in the middle of the season, or very, very rarely. So, like, this is what the season is going to look like. And I can't believe that the refs are fixing games for the Chiefs, because otherwise, why am I tuning in? Like, I just can't in my heart of hearts believe that that's even a possibility, because at that point I'm just watching pro wrestling, and I don't want to watch that. I want to watch what I believe is, a true gritty sport that, is the most exciting event on television. And there's a reason that every year it's always in the top 50 of the most watched, TV programming. The one thing I will give credit for, and why I think there's going to be a little bit of change, is it's starting to actually bleed over into the commentating crews. And I'll give, like, Joe Buck and Aikman a little bit of credit. And it kind of warmed to my heart a little bit, because they're, like, in the middle of this game, be like, that's fucking horseshit, Joe. Like,
yeah.
Kind of like, and that's why I think you're going to actually start seeing some level of change, because it's not just.
Well,
like,
here's what will tell me how this is going to go is if Aikman's not in the booth next year.
No, Aikman will be in the booth. Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It's not very often you hear
Tom Brady.
It's not often you hear anybody in the booth get that vocal about officiating and the way that, like, the face of the league is playing. When's the last time you heard anybody do that?
ESPN is supposed to be a sports journalistic run company. And unfortunately for the NFL, journalistic integrity is supposed to speak truth to power. And he's got to say, fuck it, this is what we're seeing. So they're saying it, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, but that wasn't my question. When's the last time you heard somebody do that?
I've heard it on NBA broadcasts. I've heard it. I in terms of, like, the NFL, you probably don't really hear it a lot. But you hear announcers or people critiquing things all the time. Is it on the typical, like, broadcast? Maybe not. But I also don't think it's been as much of a point of interest as it has been. And I think part of it is, everyone's tuning in now from, like, a gambling perspective. I also think that's why you're going to also need there to be some form of accountability.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can't remember a time where I've heard anybody get as vocal as Aikman did during that game.
Loved it.
I
loved
no,
it.
I
was
absolutely
like,
loved
go
it. I was
in on it.
such a fan for it.
I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
That's the hardest I've ever rooted for Troy Aikman.
Yeah, absolutely. I was very happy to hear him be like, man, that's just not a good call. That's just a really bad call. Patrick Mahomes is flopping this and that. Like it's not a good look for the game. I'm like, dude, this is
that-
amazing. Like,
See,
please
that's
spit,
gotten, yeah.
just keep spitting, bro. It's great.
It's just
Will
clear
you
the
be in the
paint.
booth next year? I don't know because I don't know if you can dog Patrick Mahomes like that and get away with it.
I think he'll be back just fine.
We'll see. We'll see. Cool. Do we have any other comments on last week before we dive into this week?
Nope. R.I.P. Detroit.
Yeah.
Rooting for you, but
Yeah.
wasn't meant to be.
Dan Campbell, famous last words. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Also, guys, fuck the Ravens.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, Mark Andrews
Love
dropped the
watching it.
2-point conversion. I laughed
That's so
uncontrollably when that happened. I laughed
what is-
uncontrollably. Mary and
what
I
is-
high-fived 75 times after he dropped that ball. It was great.
Yeah.
And then
it
what does
was,
Bills Mafia do? They go donate to that guy's charity because you can't hate him.
Yeah.
No, he helped you win a football game. So
And
yeah,
and I will say I respected the way Lamar Jackson handled everything post game because everything was a layup for him to just shit on Mark Andrews. Good teammate, showed no bias.
Yeah.
Super positive, smiled the whole time. He handled
I
the
did
post-game
smile the whole
interview
time.
very well. Yeah. The majority of the time.
But,
Lamar
yeah.
should be thanking his lucky fucking stars because he allowed everyone to push off the fact that Lamar threw a pick and fumbled terribly in that game.
Yeah,
And
he had
Right.
2 very costly turnovers.
he's the reason that they needed to get a 2-point conversion at the end of that game to begin with.
Right.
And he's like,
Yeah.
thank you, Mark. Thank fucking God you dropped that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's I mean, the Ravens are who they are. It's tough to I guess like when you think about it from like you put yourself in his shoes dropping that, like you feel for the guy, but he wears the purple and black so you don't feel bad. But
Yeah,
like,
the problem is that they're not going
from a
anywhere
human
either.
being level, I'm like, man, that really sucks. Like I would hate to drop that pass in that moment, but it was the Ravens, so fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, like removing my fan hat, like it was a great game. Like it
Yeah.
was the two guys that were 1 and 2 for MVP race. Like you rarely get to see a situation like
Yeah.
that, you know, and it was really cool to see it play out like that. And like Bobby, you said that was your favorite game you watched last week, and I don't I don't even really disagree. Like that game was great. It was a nice little you know, bookend to the weekend. But yeah, he put them in a terrible position, but then he also came back on that drive at the end of the game. Like he'll be fine. Like Lamar will be back next year. The Ravens are going to still be an 11-win team.
Yeah, they're a problem for the foreseeable future.
That game very easily could have shook out to be a conference championship game, and it maybe should have been. But you know, that's just not the way the bracket shook out this year. It's similar to how I feel about Detroit, Washington.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a damn good matchup for a divisional round. I'll say that.
So these guys got to lose in order for us to have a Super Bowl. So
Right. Well, speaking of a divisional matchup, we got the Commanders versus the Eagles for the fucking NFC Championship.
NFC East representing.
Yeah.
Thought it was the North all year.
This was not the conference championship I had in the cards going into the season. Had the Eagles
also,
there.
Nobody thought San Francisco was going to lose 11 games either, but they did. So, or 10, however their year shook out. But
well, thanks, Christian McCaffrey. You dick.
yeah,
I had the you know, what's that? That's all right.
Still a little butthurt I took him number one. I was literally contemplating between taking him or taking Saquon, and I took fucking McCaffrey.
I took CD, but I did not take McCaffrey with one. Still didn't work out.
Yeah.
but I at least felt smart for like a week or two after because I took Jordan Mason in like the 8th or 9th or something.
No, that's fair. All right,
Still
boys. Well, obviously we got the Commanders on the road in Philly. Aaron, lead us off. Who you got?
I mean, this is tough, guys, and I also have to look at this from the perspective of we're down to 4 cities, and every year we got our Super Bowl party, and this is what are we serving Super Bowl Sunday? This is cheesesteaks versus DC was tough, guys. I'm gonna be honest, DC was tough. They do a thing there called half smokes. It's like a sausage. It's like sausage rolls and what's called mumbo sauce. We're gonna kind of do like a weenie, like a what is it, like a cocktail weenie sauce or whatever. Doesn't matter.
Sure.
Anyways, little sausage rolls versus Philly cheesesteaks. Like obviously, I'm kind of going Philly cheesesteaks here, but
Right.
I'm excited about Jaden Daniels, man. Like when is this the best rookie performance we've ever seen out of the quarterback position? Certainly playoffs.
Yeah,
I mean,
at least playoff wise for sure.
Yeah, I don't really know if you can argue it.
I've been so impressed with every week he shows me something new, different, and the crazy thing. And I was one of them for sure. I certainly saw the talent at LSU and throughout his college career, but I was one of the guys. I was like, this guy's so freaking skinny. Like I'm worried about the way that he plays and at the NFL level, but he's a really, really smart player. I've never seen like his accuracy is insane.
It's nuts.
He is up there, and quite frankly, his ball placement reminds me a little bit of Joe Burrow, where I'm like, I feel like this guy can place the ball anywhere on the field at any moment in time, but he's got that athleticism too. And where they didn't use it a ton in the regular season, you're seeing him get 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 rushing attempts in these games here late as these games start to actually mean something. I want Washington to win, but my brain is saying the Eagles. My heart certainly lies with the Commanders.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Todd.
Yeah, I think you have to be concerned about Jalen Hurts' health overall too. I think that's something that you got to consider kind of in this game.
He was high as a kite in that post-game interview.
Yeah, he was feeling good. The issue I have with that though is teams have proven that even if they tried to load the box on Saquon, the Eagles just have such a strong offensive line, and Saquon's having such a good year that he could win a game for Philadelphia essentially by himself, run first, and then get to the air if you have to. Going back to what I said at the beginning of this is a very, very average defense on Washington's side. Jaden Daniels was not able to beat Philadelphia either time this year when they matched up.
Well, they did win, but that was Jalen Hurts got hurt.
Right. Concussion. That was concussion.
Right.
That was the concussion game.
But the Eagles were up handedly before he got.
Yeah, in that game, Saquon had 29 carries, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Not that it doesn't matter.
Did they? I thought that.
I can tell you real quick. So Eagles were up 21-7. And then first half ended, it was 21-14.
They did. They won 36-33.
Then they went up 27-14, and then the Commanders scored 22 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's right. That was against.
But it was Kenny Pickett.
Yeah,
it was Mr. Pickett.
They're not getting Pickett.
Yeah. Guys, this is. We all talk about it. We're pro Lions around here. We want to see the Lions. I think this might be a better game than what we would have seen from Detroit and Philadelphia. I think this is a better matchup overall.
I think it's more exciting.
Yeah, I mean, they've seen each other twice. I mean, I'm looking at the stats here. Saquon had pretty much identical stat lines for the 2 games they played this year. The first game, he had 26 carries, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then the second game, he had 29 carries for 151 yards and 2 touchdowns.
So he's just playing video games, basically, against Washington is what you're
saying. So I think it's pretty confident you can take him for 100 yards and a touchdown in a parlay, and it's more than likely going to hit.
Yeah.
It's not even enough time in video games to get 29 carries in.
You have 29 carries in a video game, you're going to have 562 yards.
Fellas, I'm going to go with my gut here. I'm actually going to take the Commanders here to go to the Super Bowl.
Oh boy. I love
it. They're healthier. The momentum is significantly more in their favor. I mean, Aaron, you just talked about it. The Rams were a snow drop ball away from winning that game, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not taking anything away from what the Rams did. Like that was, they impressed me time and over. When they were obviously, they had issues with health midpoint during the season, so they struggled. But to get to the second round of the playoffs with a 37-year-old quarterback and an average roster other than him of like 24, like that's pretty tough. But yeah, I think I'm just playing momentum here, fellas. I think Washington's at a significant momentum shift. It seems like we're at a point now too, and it's easy to hate Philadelphia, but the media is really pushing Washington getting here. I would just like to see a rookie quarterback in the Super Bowl. That's kind of where I'm at too. I think we're at a time where, I'd like to see history be made this year for a Super Bowl so we could talk about it and share 20 years from now, be like, hey, remember when Jaden Daniels played Josh Allen in the Super Bowl and, went down to last possession, something like that, right? Like, I want to see history be made, fellas.
I mean, that right there is first overall draft pick and like the vibes match up. Like, give me Commanders, give me Bills. Like, let's have a banger of a Super Bowl.
That would be
great
one of the
2
best
weeks
Super Bowls
leading
we've
up.
seen in a long time.
That'd be a great 2 weeks leading up. You don't have to listen to the Chiefs nonsense. You don't have to listen to the Eagles nonsense. You get some. That's good vibes. Also, Josh in the chat, if you're playing 15-minute quarters, where you're a psychopath.
If you're playing 15-minute quarters, I hope you expect the game to be 174 to 170.
Who's got time for that? Who's got time for 15-minute? Hats off to you if you do.
You must.
I imagine he's got like a placemat with his laminated plays on it too.
He used to be a fucking baller.
Engage 8 now.
He would kick my ass. It was not even fun to play. That's why I don't play Madden. I can't.
It, but I'm not good. I just throw so.
No, I'm terrible.
The second my first read's gone, my first read's gone, I'm like, guys running.
Air it out.
It's
scrambling.
Air it out. Hasn't worked the first 9 times, but these guys got it.
He's out. Halfback screen. Halfback screen.
Yeah.
Halfback screen. That always works.
Like, I don't know, dude. This game's broken.
Yeah.
Oh
Exactly.
shit. Yeah, I'm torn on this one, guys. I don't think the Commanders have enough. I don't think they have an answer for Saquon. I'm taking the Eagles. I want the Commanders to win, but I think the Eagles are. I think Saquon's just going to be too much, and that's where I stand. God, I hope it's the Commanders, but I think the Eagles will win.
I just think the Eagles have been definitely the most consistent team in the NFC, and even the Lions, who are winning all of those games, like we just saw it after a certain point where like the injury after injury. I mean, they had just a long.
They had
list. At a certain point, it's
the guy that broke his arm, like during that game, like that was gnarly. They've had some really gross injuries on that team this year.
Yeah, and it's like you saw Monty come back for the game and just was a shell of himself. But for the Eagles, I just feel like they've just. I guess the one X factor is going to be Jalen Hurts, and again, it was a snow game, but Jalen Hurts looked pretty hobbled last week. I thought.
Yeah, he's gonna be all jacked up on Mountain Dew come Sunday. I believe it.
They all should be.
All right, we got our fourth matchup: Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in championship.
Would this be worse than losing 4 Super Bowls in a row? Just losing.
I think you could argue it for sure. Like, I think that's a conversation that deserves to be had.
I just
100%.
Buffalo. Let's do this. Let's
get over the hump.
Let's do it.
The smallest portion of the country. This is Kansas City. Everybody else is rooting for Buffalo.
You think I don't want to serve a bunch of wings at a Super Bowl party? Buffalo. Let's do this, guys.
Right.
I'll throw you some beef on weck if you want. Like, let's get wild with it. I'm so fucking sick of the Chiefs. And here's the thing,
I'm tired of having barbecue on Super Bowl Sunday. God damn it.
Well, dude, I kind of am. Yeah. And it's Kansas City barbecue, like the worst kind of barbecue.
Yeah, it's the worst barbecue.
Yeah.
It's, like it's not in Austin, or it's not even like, honestly, I'll fuck with Carolina over Memphis is good too. But either way, doesn't matter. I'm so sick of the Chiefs. So that's my take. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys go.
I'm taking the Bills. Taking the Bills. Something massive is gonna happen, and the Bills are gonna fucking lose, and it's gonna be awful. But I'm taking the Bills
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, I'll go 0-2 this weekend if I have to. Give me the Bills. I'm where Aaron's at. I need something different in the Super Bowl, fellas. Obviously things didn't work out the way I wanted them to when the Rams and the Bengals played, but wasn't that nice? Wasn't it nice to have a change?
It was fantastic.
Not Kansas City and somebody, and then before that it was just New England and somebody.
It was great to
right?
see
Like,
Stafford get a ring. It was great to see Andrew
Yeah.
Whitworth get a ring. Two guys that fucking deserve. Aaron Donald, like guys that deserve to have rings. Like they got them. Like as much as you didn't want to see the Rams win, like there were some great dudes, like Hall of Fame talent on that team that got rings. Like it was awesome to see.
Yeah, and different again, just different. Good with that. Let's.
Yeah. Could you imagine seeing the Commanders play the Bills in the Super Bowl?
It'd be awesome.
It'd be the best combo. And here's the thing: I'm so sick of the Chiefs that if I got to settle for Eagles Bills to get there, fine, give me Eagles.
Yeah, whatever.
Right?
Cheesesteaks and wings. Oh no, that's so bad.
Oh no, cheesesteaks on wings. What?
Oh shit! Shit.
Boneless
Bone
wings
in.
inside of a
No,
cheesesteak.
Bone in, dude. We go hard over here.
I'm thinking. I guess my head went to like Philly cheesesteak pizza with buffalo wings on top. That's where I
Ooh.
went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we just try that anyway?
Yeah, I'll do that.
So I mean, we have the Bills back where they seemingly always get, right? Like this, and I would say this is probably the most inspired team that we've seen get here. Where I mean, similar to Washington or some of these other teams, maybe even the Eagles to a certain extent, because I don't think a lot of people had a lot of faith in Sirianni and the vibes of that team as last year was ending. But like, I don't really think we thought they were going to necessarily be in this position. We thought we were talking about, did the Bills miss their window? Which is also, guys, why I'm not saying I think the Lions have necessarily missed their window yet. And we had the same conversation last year about the Bills. They're right back. Now,
Yeah.
I think this team has a little bit more fire in them in the sense of you don't have the Diggs drama. It seems like it's a accumulation of all parts, right? With Josh Allen, stirring the drink, and he seems to has reached a different level than he has in years past. I'm really, really excited about this game. And let's not forget here, guys, as much as we want to hate on the Chiefs, like no one has ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row. Like that is a historic thing. Not necessarily something I'm rooting for, but oftentimes sports are most entertaining when there is a very clear designated villain. And again, Bobby, like you said, outside of that little circle around Kansas City, you got the whole world rooting for the Bills. So I'm going to take the Bills here. I'm keeping the vibes high. But I also, in my heart of hearts, probably think the Chiefs win this game.
Yeah. There's a large part of me that just has this guttural feeling that the Chiefs are going to go back, and I just don't want to see it.
And we'll get a head coach out of this too. Joe Brady will be a head coach somewhere when it's all said and done, whether it's New Orleans or Jacksonville. He's interviewed with both. I don't know if you guys saw, but Jacksonville fired their GM today too, which is just nuts. Just a dumpster fire. Just, like you pay your franchise quarterback and then you're like, new GM, new head coach, we'll figure it out. But I think that now, based on Liam Cohen bowing out and Ben Johnson going to Chicago, I do think Joe Brady makes the most sense to go to Jacksonville to work with Trevor Lawrence. So
it'd be an interesting pairing. I could see that absolutely happening.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Both of these games, like I really like the time frame in which these games are going to take place. It's like one's at 3:00, one's at 6:30. Like
it's great.
Like
it's good for every time zone.
Yeah,
so
you're watching that Bills Chiefs game over here. Like the latest you're in bed is 10:00. Say less.
Yeah.
especially when you
Yeah,
gotta get up
I think
early.
the Super Bowl's even on it. I mean, they've been
Yeah,
doing it early.
they're usually around 6:37. I mean,
Yeah,
the game
yeah.
usually doesn't start till like 7. So what? 11
Yeah,
o'clock,
it's
the
the
latest. If
longest
you're staying up and
halftime.
watching all the other bullshit, like maybe midnight, but that's not bad.
Yeah,
Not
it's
bad at all. But yeah, I think there's two teams we're clearly cheering for this weekend, and that would be the Commanders and the Bills. So best of luck to those two teams because that would be an absolute fire game to watch a couple weeks from now.
So you guys getting ready for Chiefs Eagles then?
Probably, yeah.
Aaron, before we get this thing wrapped up, where do you stand on Drew Pine becoming the offensive coordinator for the Browns?
Wait, what?
Isn't that who they picked?
I thought it was Reese. Or wait, did I miss?
Or Reese, Tommy Reese. Tommy Reese. I'm
Reese,
sorry.
Yeah,
I was thinking. I just had Notre Dame quarterback in my head. I apologize.
No, I got
Tommy
it.
Reese.
Yeah. No, Tommy Reese. I don't really have one opinion over the other outside of the fact that it seems like they're going to go back to more what they were running before with Kevin Stefanski's system, as opposed to trying to work their system around Deshaun Watson and try to make it work with what they have. He's never going to play it down for us again, and
no,
you're going to go back to what worked with Kevin Stefanski before. He's going to resume calling plays, and I think Reese is an interesting, probably in like that Kellen Moore mold, where it's like, very bright young didn't necessarily make it as a quarterback himself, but coaches always were talking about these people in the film room or in the quarterback room in general. But I don't think he's going to have a lot to do offensive coordinator wise. Yes, he holds the title, but you're going to see Kevin Stefanski go back to calling plays. So probably a good place for him to start out, where you can get his feet wet, overall managing the offense. But not having the play calling responsibility takes a little bit off his plate as well. So
who's going to be the quarterback for Cleveland, do you think, next year?
I have no idea. I'd take Cam Ward in a heartbeat if he's there at 2. Otherwise, you're probably going to see them maybe do like what the Steelers did last year with Russell and just take Kirk Cousins. He's got a history with Stefanski. See what you can do there, but you'll see a veteran. I mean, what will happen is they'll bring some veteran in. They're going to draft somebody in the first 3 rounds. There's going to be some form of competition, but more than likely you're going to see some veteran brought in and be the quarterback. Who it is right now, I don't know. If I had to guess, that's why I'd say Kirk Cousins, just because of the history. You're going to see him.
Can they make that work with the cap?
Easily. The cap is a myth. I've had to answer this question for every year that Deshaun Watson has been on this team. It has never once mattered.
So if they don't go Cam Ward at 2, who's the quarterback that you take in either round 2 or round 3?
Yeah, that's honestly, I haven't really dove in enough to have like a second tier quarterback. I've kind of looked at most of the people that are projected in that first round, and like you see, like Noah out there. I don't know, from what I've heard, and that's the interesting thing with Reese, right? Like he had that. He was the offensive coordinator in Alabama last year, was he not? Or not?
A couple of years ago. Yeah. He was with the Browns last year.
Right. But there was something I was reading or some connection that was made because he had his like best collegiate season under Reese. So I'll be honest with you, there isn't really anybody so far that I've seen in this draft that really wows me.
I agree.
And at that point, if you need to bring in a camp arm, fine. Maybe there is somebody that I'm not aware of. You see people in the 3rd, 4th round that get drafted, give them a shot, but nobody that's going to be ready next year anyway. So I think Cam Ward is worth a shot where you're at. You got to take as many at bats as you can until you get that hit, because otherwise nothing else matters. I think he's good enough to take a shot at it too, without really saying if he's going to be great or not. Don't want Sanders at all. I just do not want to deal with that. And
I
agree with
that's
you.
fair.
I also think he's limited as well. If he was insanely talented, like even like Jaden Daniels, like we saw last year, like even that level of talent coming in, I'd probably say, well, you got to take that shot.
Sure.
But I don't see that same. There's the hot crazy scale, right? Where you're like, yeah, but she's really hot, dude. And I don't think Shedeur Sanders' skill set rises above that crazy line.
Yeah.
No, this quarterback draft class is
Yeah, it's
rough.
great. I do like Cam Ward a lot.
I agree.
He's got a wonky throw, but I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, he's NFL ready tomorrow. He could start tomorrow.
So if you guys,
which used to be a bad thing or a knock, where these guys are coming out, and you see, Bo Nix, Daniels, these quarterbacks that have actually stayed in college. Maybe it actually is a good thing that these guys get some fucking experience before they get thrown to the
wolves. Yeah. Even Penix getting a shot late in the year, I thought he played really well in the circumstances.
Was the other example I was thinking of. Yes.
Yeah. Josh, I don't see any world where he doesn't.
Yeah.
Does Jamar Chase become the highest paid receiver?
The question
110%.
is how much.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty easy question.
We're getting close to like a market reset here soon, depending on how things shake out.
It's gonna have to be.
Looking at guys like, like a Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. If Malik Neighbors has a couple of consecutive seasons where he plays full healthy years, where he's putting together numbers like he had with a better quarterback, you're talking about a market reset. It'll be ridiculous.
Yeah. At a certain point, though, when the talent's so good at the position, and I think I brought this up earlier this year, at what point does it kind of reflect a little bit like the running backs, where it's like, well, shit, if I can just keep drafting these guys, why am I paying?
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's an influx of talent at that position. And I don't
look at
the guys and
well, that's what I was going to say. There's another one coming out of Arizona who is equally as impactful as and even Ibuka, right? Ibuka sets Ohio State's all-time receiving record, and he's not even the best receiver on the field, and he's still a first-round pick.
Perfect number 2.
It's nuts, and he'll that's a guy, Bobby, I'm looking at you, who gets drafted late in the first round to an offense that desperately needs a sure-handed guy. I could very easily see him.
Tell me you don't see him having like the exact same career as like a Jarvis Landry, where he's just right around 1,000 yards, 80 catches every year.
Yeah,
not great. Yeah, so impactful.
No, but he's results driven. He gets in the end zone. He figures out a way to get open. He's great on any spot you put him in, X, Y, Z. He's good at any position you put him in. I think of this wide receiver class, he's the most well-rounded. He's just not the best athlete. He's not the most talented of all of these guys. I mean, shit, Jackson Smith and Jigba and him are almost the same guy, except Ibuka has a couple inches on him, and they're kind of cut from the same cloth. So, it'll be annoying if he ends up in Pittsburgh, because he'd be a very good wide receiver too for someone.
I just always assume
I do not owe you shit, Tez. Caleb Williams was trash this year. The punter had more yards.
Remember on draft night when Caleb Williams was like, "Don't worry, you're not gonna have to punt a lot here," and then this dude's.
You can't tell me he had a good season when the punter had more yards than he had passing. I'll take my pizza whenever you want.
Setting rookie punting records is not what you want to do. I don't think.
Yeah, I am certainly not willing to say anything about Caleb Williams at this point. I thought he had in a vacuum a fine rookie season. We'll see what he does next year.
Well, he got the best case scenario for a head coach.
Yeah. So. Yeah, exactly. And I also think Eberflus is kind of an idiot. So
I say, if anything,
he's not even
a draw.
Is he even getting defensive coordinator interviews?
And that's me being nice.
No, he's gonna go the Kingsbury route and just spend a year in Thailand.
Coach at USC or something. I don't know. Go down and work with Matt Rule down in Nebraska. Be his defensive guy. Be the mind there. Who knows?
No.
And Aaron Glenn, right? He got announced today as the head coach for the Jets.
Yep. I think I saw it's like the last 6 of the last 7 coaches the Jets have hired have been first-time head coach defensive coordinators. Like,
shoot,
run it back. That's the definition of insanity.
Yeah, that's nightmare.
I just don't understand why. It's just like you don't draft a guy number 1 and expect him to be great their first year. Why would you expect the same thing out of a coach? Why would your expectation be different?
I think coaches deserve it at a minimum, like a 3-year. If you're gonna go through the interview process, decide this is the guy that we want leading our team. You either admit that you're an idiot when you went through that process, didn't take it seriously, or you're gun shy. Those people need at least 3 years to develop a culture, get drafts under their belt, and I'm saying 3 years at a minimum. I still think they should get longer than that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't.
There are situations like Gerard Mayo this last year. Like I'm like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
pretty fucking
I totally get it.
But very rarely should that ever happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think the constant coaching carousel is more of a reflection on management than it is the coaches themselves. Like, you guys didn't do a good enough job of bringing in the right guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you said,
I just think it's New England is just running it back with just the same guys in a roundabout way, right? Am I crazy? Like Vrabel's the head coach. Right. Josh McDaniels is the offensive coordinator again. Like,
it's like a sitcom that's going on for way too long. They're like, hey, look, we brought this. Remember this guy
from
season 2?
Here's the thing. I think that Belichick basically promised Gerard Mayo the job.
It was he had that contractually in his deal.
And Bob had to honor that, but he only had, because I think the guy they wanted was Vrabel when he got fired from Tennessee, which is why Vrabel didn't take a job, because Kraft was like, look, just wait a year, take a year off. You'll be the head coach here next season after we fire this guy.
Yeah, I don't know if it was that simple, because I actually really do think Kraft wanted Mayo to work out. I think it worked out for them to bring Vrabel in, but I don't think Vrabel, because Vrabel and Mayo, I assume, are close from their playing days at a minimum, or have respect for each other.
Yeah, they were teammates.
I don't think Vrabel's culturing the job for a guy like that, but I think it ultimately kind of worked out that way.
Yeah,
maybe. I mean, I could 100% be wrong. I never perceived it that way.
Tez, you can't sit here and tell me that Caleb Williams had worse weapons than Jayden Daniels. That Bears offense was fucking loaded with talent. The line wasn't great, but he had a lot of talent. So
yeah, I saw a lot of flashes out of Caleb this year. I'm actually really curious to see what that Bears team looks like next year. I think a full off season under your belt, not having to deal with the hard knocks at the beginning of the year. Just go through a regular off season and Ben Johnson going in there. Let's see what he does. I don't know. The Bears definitely do have some talent on that offense, but like, are you really going to get anything out of Keenan Allen next year? Is he even
the hype that was going into the season? Caleb Williams was not even close to it. And that's where I've landed on it. Like, he was so full of himself that he was going to be fantastic, and he wasn't. And I know you said Jayden Daniels only had 27 more yards, but look at the poise and look at the maturity that Jayden Daniels has versus what Caleb Williams showed. Caleb Williams showed flashes. Jayden Daniels showed composure the whole season.
I would guess to say that Jayden Daniels also probably had like at least 200 more rushing yards than Caleb Williams, if not more. I'm pretty sure Jayden Daniels is like close to 900 yards on the ground, if not over.
Well, let's take a gander.
And yeah, you might say that he had better weapons on offense, but you could probably also say that Jayden Daniels was in better hands in Washington. Dan Quinn, this wasn't his first time on the block. Eberflus was out the door. Why they brought him back anyway was beyond me. Like, very clear time to make a break at that situation. Bring in a like, don't do this, 1 foot in, 1 foot out the door bullshit like that. It's a wasted season. But Dan Quinn, he's been a coach before. Cliff Kingsbury's been a head coach before. Been around a lot of very talented quarterbacks in this league and in college.
Jayden Daniels had 891 yards rushing.
I think Daniels actually went into a really good situation that we probably underrated at the beginning of the year because we're so used to.
I agree.
Oh God, what's his Dan Snyder?
And
it's interesting.
I agree.
Difference can make.
I think you're right, man. I don't think
Caleb Williams had 489 yards rushing, so Jayden Daniels had 400 more rushing yards.
How many times did Jayden Daniels get sacked? Just curious.
Hold, please. 47. Caleb Williams got sacked 68 times.
Yeah.
Tough. 21 more times.
So more than once a game.
I will say, in some defense of Caleb Williams, he did stop turning the ball over. Now there wasn't a lot of like good offensive results, but at the beginning of the year, he was just. I don't think he threw more than like 2 picks after week 9 or like week 8 or 9. So
I think Caleb Williams' season would have looked just fine if it wasn't for the fact that we saw such great rookie quarterback play this year. Like in a vacuum.
last 2 years, yeah.
69% completion percentage, 35-68 in the air, 25 touchdowns, 9 picks for Jaden Daniels.
Take the last 10 years of first round rookie quarterbacks aggregated, I would say Caleb Williams was above average. You know, like we'll see what the book, you know, how the book's written, but I saw enough this year. I'm ready to. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is rookie of the year and was the best quarterback, though. Like that's not even debatable.
Yeah, not close. Not close.
Yeah, not even.
Like
yeah.
I mean, shit, Bo Nix was better. You know, I haven't seen what McCarthy's going to do.
Yeah,
It says
or win.
quarterback play translates to wins, and Caleb Williams was 5-12. So just leave it there. I will save you buying me a pizza, but I definitely don't owe you one.
Even if he did owe you food, Bobby has never paid up on a food bet.
I'm just waiting for the right time. I still know it's Burger King, boys.
Oh shit.
All right, you guys got anything else?
I think we covered it, man. I'm excited. This week coming up is one of my favorite sports days of the year. It's super exciting, just to kind of see who's ultimately going to be in the Super Bowl. But like you said, shotgun them back to back. You know, we do the Saturday, Sunday leading up. Like last week is really fun. Like so much football. Then the national championship on Monday. But this is really just like creme de la creme, typically of football, and I hope that turns out that way.
No, absolutely. Tez, we'll pick this conversation up later. I still have words I want to get out. So, but for the time being, it's almost 10 o'clock. I need to hop off here and get some sleep. So, appreciate everybody swinging through. You ain't washing nothing but your balls, Paya. No, I said I need to go to sleep, big dog. I got to be up at fucking 3:30 in the morning, and it's 10 o'clock, so that's 5.5 hours if I fall asleep right now, big dog. But now we'll catch this conversation up tomorrow, sir. But chat until 3x 3 topics. All right, Tez, shut up. We'll talk about it later. But good
now.
God,
Yeah.
it's coming at me hard.
3 toppings? You kidding me?
God, this is gonna be like $600. Like,
Yeah, what do you think this guy's made? Christ.
I ain't made it that kind of money. But
finance this pizza.
right, I'll take out a loan. But no, we'll catch you guys next week after we watch these games, and we'll be talking Super Bowl matchups. So looking forward to it. You guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we'll see you soon. Peace.